Hey guys, Ashley here. Today I am so excited to bring you my review of Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. If you did not know, Tower of Dawn is the 6th book in the Throne of Glass series, and today I'm going to be giving you my full review of it. Of course, there's going to be spoilers, so I recommend if you have not read Empire Storms, or even if you have not read her novella bind-up series, The Assassin's Blade, I recommend you leave right now, because I'm going to be spoiling all the spoils, and you just need to get out. Get out. Of course, I love this one. 5 out of 5, 10 out of 5 stars on GOODREADS. It was excellent, it was amazing, but now I'm going to spoil it so hard, so if you have not read it, please leave, get out, goodbye, bye. Alright, hey spoiler people. Hey, I'm so excited to be sharing this book with you. It's going to be a long video. I hope you're here for the long ride. It's going to be a long one. Tower of Dawn takes place immediately after Queen of Shadows and during Empire Storm. So right after he was hurt by the explosion from the destruction of the glass castle when Aelin destroyed it. And remember, his legs, he is now paralyzed. So this one is basically about him and Nezran going to the southern continent to seek, not only try to get aid from their armies to help in the defeat of Erewhon, but also to help heal his legs. Abu gotta walk again. He gotta get his legs. One thing I do have to say about reading this book is a lot of people have been saying, oh, I fell back in love with Chaol in reading this. No, I didn't fall back in love with him. I have always loved him, but I kind of forgot. Because if you remember, the last time we did see him was in Queen of Shadows. He was kind of a douchey douche, redeemed himself at the end, but you like kind of forgot your love for him, or at least I did. Because originally, before Rowan and Aelin, OTP came in, I was a hardcore Chaol shipper. Never Dorian, never, always Chaol. Crown of Midnight is like one of my favorite books in the series. So having a whole book dedicated to my baby, it was so nice. Because, you know, in all the other Throne of Glass books, we have so many characters to follow, Aelin and her crew. In this one, you only get your 3 core peeps. You have Chaol's point of view, Nezran's, and Yrene. Oh, Yrene! Let's talk about Yrene. Okay, so she is a healer, and if you do remember in the Assassin's Blade novella, Selena helped her in Inish, and she helped her against those thugs and gave her that note and the gold, which eventually sent her to Antica to the Torre Chesme. Okay, so immediately we know this weird tension between Nezran and Chaol, and I don't know about you guys, but when they were introduced in Queen of Shadows with Chaol, I never honestly felt that connection. Like ever. Because they kind of just had like a physical thing going on, but never emotionally. They kind of went backwards. So in here you really do feel the tension between them, especially because she is now captain of the guard, and Chaol, remember, is the hand to King Dorian. And so right away when the Coggin, yes, it's pronounced Coggin. Sarah has a pronunciation guide for all these new names we're learning. The Coggin calls Nezran captain, and immediately makes Chaol feel uncomfortable. And I was like, for the longest time, you were our captain, and you're no longer. You're Lord Westfall. Lord. So right when they arrived in Antica, how the timeline of it is seeming to go, I think Dorian was just rescued by Rowan, and Harrison was attacked by the Wyverns and the Blackbeak clan. So that is where the timeline is happening right now, at the very beginning of our story. Immediately being introduced to Yrene, I love this girl. She is so great. She hails from the Torre Chesme, and she's like their future heir. And she goes to the palace to heal Chaol, and they meet, and right away she has like this grudge against him because he's the son of Otterlin, and you know, she hates Otterlin because when she was a child she witnessed Otterlarnian soldiers burn her mother alive, so she has like this real prejudice against him before even meeting him. But little does she know, he is not what she thought he was. He's young, he's handsome. So she does a medical exam on him to try to see if she can heal his legs. And unlike the other healers, she hails from the northern continent, so she has these healing powers. It's in her bloodline. And right away, and this is what this whole video is going to be built upon, I was like, ooh, wait, I do not think this is where the story is going. I don't think Nezran and Chaol are going to be together in this story. I think Sarah's gonna push Chaol with Yrene. I really want this ship to sail because I was so shipping it throughout the whole way, and I was right, but we'll get to that. Ooh. But even like that first examination, she's like, can you use your manhood? And I was like, nah. So she's asking Kale about his manhood, and she's like, can you finish to completion? And he's like, because she senses that Nezrin and him are lovers, but they kind of like don't admit it to themselves because they don't even really have a label for themselves. And then later, Nezrin's like, hey, I can help you, you know, complete to completion if you want. And he just kind of like looks at her and just like goes to bed. I'm like, yeah, that's right. He doesn't want you. He doesn't want you because he wants Irene. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Sorry for your Nezrin shippers that got your hearts broken in this book, but I was not having it. So Irene carries this note in her pocket that she constantly touches. That note is actually the note that Selena gave her and wrote, the world needs more healers. And just, I don't know, this story, you see how everybody's connected and it's just wonderful. Oh, I'm jumping all over the place and I'm sorry, but I came to this realization when reading this and I could not handle it. Kale is immediately kind of drawn to Irene, and you can tell immediately from their interactions, like she's gonna be around him a lot because they're in that process of healing for the next couple weeks. It hit me when she's teaching all the other acolytes like lessons, like self-defense lessons, and he makes like a mental note in his head, and it's something like, Aelin would have laughed at that so hard or something like that. And I'm like, oh. If you think about it, Selena basically made Irene, for the most part, who she is, sort of. She set her off onto this path to the Torre Chesme to become a healer, to like take care of yourself. And in a way, Irene looks up to Selena. She looks up to her as a person of who she wants to be in a sense. So in a sense, Kale is attracted to Irene because in a sense she carries a little essence of Selena in her. And if you think about it, Kale never really got over Selena. That personality just died and then he moved to Nezrin, and I'm like, he never got over her. I mean, eventually he did, but that, I had that realization. I just needed to say it. Initially, when they do arrive at the palace, they find out that the Coggan's youngest daughter, Tumulun, she fell off the balcony, and Kale kind of senses that there's some foul play in here. He doesn't think that, and along with his other siblings like Sartak and Caution, they do not think that she would have committed suicide. So he is almost, in a sense, trying to look out in the palace, see what is wrong, who killed this girl, because there's no way it could be a suicide. And admittedly, and my friend both agreed on this, and we're kind of disappointed that it was not the truth. The Coggan's wife, like the Empress, we never see her. Never, throughout the whole book. The whole book, they're like, she's too sad, she's in mourning, she can't come out. And I'm like, ooh, something is weird about this bitch. She is gonna be the devil. She's gonna be a Valg. But no, she really was just mourning, and I was really disappointed, but it's okay. After the first initial examination of Kale, Irene actually senses something darker within his injury. Oh, is it gonna possess him? But it's just like this dark thing attached to his spine. So she goes to the library to try to research this. Oh, and how cute is the library? They have cute little library cats all over just looking out for them. Okay, so when she's in the library, she feels a presence stalking her, and then she notices another acolyte dead. And when she does find that body, they do make a note of how her body is like almost drained of life. And you remember in, I think, Queen of Shadows, when Aelin and Rowan were finding all those bodies that were murdered by the Valg, it is in that same manner. So they know it's a Valg or something killing the people in the southern continent as well. Another thing, so when they're in the palace again, immediately you feel this weird tension between Caution and Irene. They were really good friends, but he wanted more and she didn't want that, so there's this awkward tension, and you're like, oh, can we talk about Sartak for a minute? So immediately, like I said, because I'm not a Nezrin Kale shipper, when they walked into the palace and they're getting introduced to all these siblings, and Nezrin eyes Sartak and he is eyeing her down. He's staring at her, he's giving her a little smile, and I'm like, oh, this is another ship and I am here for it. She rolled that bird with him, the rooks. I honestly picture like a bunch of buckbeaks because I have no idea. But yeah, she like rode that bird with him, and I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Back to Irene. So she eventually goes back to the palace. She decides like, you know what? I am a healer. I need to fulfill my duty. I need to get over this like prejudice I have. She puts his hands on his back. It is painful. I didn't think it was gonna be this painful. My poor baby Kale. And it literally takes 5 hours. Also, I think it's right after Irene was giving the acolytes the lesson about self-defense, and him and Irene are just in the garden talking, and then a bunch of the acolytes are giggling. It was very reminiscent of in Crown of Midnight when he was escorting Selena through the garden, and all those women were there like giggling at him because he's so handsome, and I'm like, my old Selena and Kale hearts. So these healing lessons go on. Eventually, Kale receives feeling in his toes. Yes, he's gonna be back. He's gonna be back. He's gonna be back. That had happened, and then Irene goes back again for another healing session, but Nesrin is there, and she feels kind of intrusive, and she's like, oh, I forgot. I will never be the primary. I'm just a secondary person. I'm just a healer. My shipper hearts. Like, oh, you feel the feels. One day he does actually go with her on a horse ride to the city to visit her other patients, and I see a pregnant woman, and the pregnant woman is like eyeing Kale and is like, ooh, are you guys together? And then Irene's like, oh, no. And then Kale's just like, I'm with Nesrin. I'm like, oh, you are not with Nesrin, like, please. He's in denial. So they have this weird holiday. I don't remember what it's called, but they all go to this party. Hazar makes this like big show. She literally makes Nesrin get up from her seat and go sit by Sartak and puts Irene by him, and I'm like, ooh. But it really is Hazar's plan just to try to get her to get some details from Kale to tell her to be like a spy. And I don't know about you guys, but I still feel weird about Hazar. She acts sneaky. She's not reliable. Y'all, this is some weird like sex orgy thing. I did not know what was happening here. They bring out a bunch of dancers and people are moving off into separate couches and they're not wearing a lot of clothes. So Nesrin goes off with Sartak, mostly for show. Mostly. And Kale notices that Cashin wants to grab Irene and bring her, but you know, Irene ain't about that because she's just friends with him. So Kale steals Irene and they go sit on their own couch together, and he's like touching her arm and her neck, and she's touching him, and I'm like, oh, what's happening? And it was very reminiscent of Akamath. If you haven't read Akamath, I'll mute it. I mean, this picture leaves very reminiscent of Akamath when Feyre was sitting with Rhys in the like night court down below in front of Mor's father, and they were like on that throne room like teasing each other like for show. While they're having that, of course, Irene has to pretend to get some type of information from Kale to tell Hazar so she knows that she's on her side. They basically want to know where Aelin would be because her whereabouts and Dorian's whereabouts are kind of unknown to them. So Kale tells Irene, oh, she'll probably be at Skulls Bay, because in reality she'd never go to Skulls Bay because she hates Raw. But little does he know, yes, she was at Skulls Bay. Irene comes back to visit Kale, and when she walks in, Nesrin and Kale are just laying in bed together. She is so jealous. That same night, him and Nesrin had kind of had deep, silent understanding. I know. And then he was like, I think I know too. And I'm like, you know that you're not meant to be? Ooh. Another part I forgot to mention, iconic moment, is when Kale is on that horse with Irene and they're going to Torre Chesme, and she's in this like weird slip dress, so her leg is exposed, like, ooh, that leg, and all these men are staring at her, and so he's like eyeing them down, making sure that none of them check her out. This quote destroyed me, and I need to read it to you. He eyed her for a long moment, the humor lingering on her face, that heavy, soft curling hair that was occasionally caught in the morning breeze off the sea, and found himself still smiling as something coiled tight in his chest began to loosen. My ship, guys. Okay, so back to healing of Kale. She asks the librarian Nusha to give her some scrolls and books that will maybe help her figure out what this darkness inside of him is. And when she looks at the scrolls, there's some weird symbols on them. I'm like, oh my god, these are word marks. And I was right, they were word marks. And then another time she goes back to Kale's room and she feels this person stalking her and whispering her name. And they go back to the room, and then Cashin comes and she's like, I'd rather be safe with Kale. I don't want to be escorted by you. A lot of this book, I know I'm just ranting on my Irene Kale feels, but honestly a lot of this book was focused on Kale's personal growth, especially his feelings about Aelin. You really see him unfold, and it just breaks my heart. For example, that moment I just talked about where Irene was almost attacked, he thanks her for thanking him that he was going to make the kill for her, and just the fact that she did not expect him to make the kill. Dorian never did that. Even Aelin always expected me to be there to protect her, and it just it breaks my heart. Oh, Kale. I just love Kale so much. Irene and Kale go on a little fancy little dinner date, and he of course remembers the last time he was treated like this is when Selena took him to that green greenhouse for his birthday in Crown of Midnight. Y'all remember that scene. One thing that I noticed particular about what he said this past winter when I was treated in the greenhouse. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And unless I'm stupid, this past winter, are you telling me that the whole Throne of Glass series has only been within the events of a year? If that was only just this past winter and that was all the way in Crown of Midnight? Damn! Mind blown. Sartak is with the Rooks, the buckbeak bird things. He brings Nezran on that one ride, and then he asks her to join her on a 3-week journey to go to the place where the Rooks and their people live to try to see if they can help them. Of course, she goes with him. She does not tell Kale that she's going with him. She leaves him a note. Nezran and Sartak arrive. It's like his second home, basically. These Rook riders, he's closer to them than his original own family. Hulun, which is like the mother figure. Metaphorical sister, Bort. I love Bort. She's badass. Go Bort. Also, while we're there, we meet this new character, Falcon, whatever his name is. He appears as an old 40-year-old man, but then we learn he's actually a merchant. He sold 20 years of his life to get spider silk. Sound familiar? It should. He's the same merchant from the Assassin's Blade who gave Selena and she wanted spider silk. He's the same guy. All these characters are just coming full circle and it's so nice to see. So Sartak and Nezran, they go off on a little like journey with the Rook to this ruin. They might hold some secrets that give them information about the Valg. When they're there, they encounter one of those spiders and they are creepy as heck. And I don't know why I did not expect a spider to talk, but it started talking and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So they're almost near death and then this wolf pounces out and saves them and I'm like, who's this wolf? And you find out that Falcon is actually a shapeshifter. Who else do we know that's a shapeshifter? Lysandra? So flashback to Irene and Kale. Stupid Hazar and her dumb mouth. Her and Argon, they are the worst out of the Coggin siblings and I hate them. They inform Kale, I believe over dinner, that his lead on Aelin was actually, this gets him really mad. He's been trying to get in a meeting with the Coggin for a while now, but he could not. So he tries to go in a private meeting, but he tries to stand and he can't stand. He wants to try and he gets pushed back to his room. And then Irene comes and she's like, what's wrong? Why are you so angry? And he's like, I feel helpless. It's all my fault. And then he starts calling her names. He's taking all this anger out on her. And he says a specific thing. It was too much. He went too far. And it makes her walk away. In his head, he's like, no. I let Aelin walk away. I let Nezran walk away. I can't let her walk away. And I'm like, oh, my heart. So he starts to stand. This whole chapter, I believe it was 38 and 39. I was like, ah! So he starts to stand and he starts taking steps. And I'm like, oh my god, oh my god. And he's walking toward her and she keeps moving, egging him on. And then he starts to realize, wait, this is part of her game. She's trying to get me angry, trying to get me to walk towards her. So then he walks towards her and then she's up against a wall and then he puts his hands there. And I'm like, it's happening. And they kiss. My family probably thinks I'm crazy. Guys, the whole scene, my fists were just clenched and I was like, my ship has sailed, my babies, I was right. Screw Nezran. She can be with Sartak. I really do like them together, but ooh, Kale and Irene deserve to be together forever. So fast forward a little bit. Healer of the High Lady, she tells Irene that there might be some information that you are seeking in the desert, but the desert, the place that they need to go to is like this oasis that only the Coggin family has access to. So Irene tricks Hazar into giving her like this birthday celebration there, so they ride over there with their horses. I love that whole scene when they had a race. That was really fun. You're seeing Kale let loose and just let his demons out and he's finally becoming happy again. They sneak off into the forest while everyone is in this oasis pool and they stumble upon these ruins, and on the ruins engraved are Fae. And that's where they realize that Fae originated from here. There were Fae here and the Fae made sure to pass down their powers to the healers. In a sense, the healers originate their powers from the Fae. Cray cray. Why would they want to hide this? Why do they want to hide the Fae here? And it is discovered that the Fae gave the healers these powers so they could defeat the Valg. Because Irene has the powers to defeat the Valg as a healer. And that is why all the magic was wiped out in Terrasen, because they didn't want any healers in when the Valg arrived. Shook. So then they're dining with all the family. Irene pushes Hazar into the water and you're like, shit, she's gonna kill her, murder her. But then they just laugh it off. They go into their tent tents, this tent situation. I was like, when they arrived at camp and they had 2 separate tents, I'm like, no way you're gonna be sleeping in 2 separate tents. No, 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 no. So they share tents, and Kale gives her a necklace for her birthday. It's like pendant, and it has her initials on the back and a mountain in the ocean because she crossed mountains and oceans to be here. And it's for her to put that note that she holds in her pocket in the necklace. And I'm like, oh, you don't know that Selena gave her this note. So they do that, and then they have sex. I'm sorry, but I feel like this whole book was this very obvious sexual tension between them, and we only got that little tidbit, like a typical cliche YA fade to black moment. And I'm like, did it not say on this book there would be mature content? And I'm sorry, this is just because I've read A Court of Mist and Fury and all my expectations are from that. Like, I was just like, man, that's it. That's all we got from that. I'm fine with it, but it's not all about the smut, but sometimes, you know, it just is, and that was it. I was a little underwhelmed, if you might say. So when they wake up from their little sexcapades, Kale begins, of course, to be honest and open, and he tells her, I don't love Nezran anymore, I don't love Aelin anymore, I loved her as somebody else, and then she became a queen, and oh, it's just like this whole spew of Aelin, and you can just tell he loved her so much, and it's so heartbreaking. He talks about Rowan a lot, and I just... Just to know that he was thinking this internally the whole time, it's heartbreaking. It's so sad. Flashback to Nezran in Sarktak. They continue to see if they can try to rescue these rook hatchlings because the spider things have been taking them. And when they see one, they try to get it, but little they know it's a bait to trap them. And so they're trying to escape. Everyone's getting bloodied up, and then they get stuck in between this wall, and Sarktak is hanging off the edge. He's stuck, he can't move. He tells her that he loves her, and he loved her before he even knew her. And then a spider drags him away, and I'm like, no, no. Sarktak did not just die. And Nezran comes with a plan. They're gonna take him alive. So she gets taken too. She has Falcon in her pocket as a little rodents, and they get spun in webs and thrown in a cave, and they're just like in these sacks. So then Falcon starts to chew his way out and starts to chew him. Another spider comes into the cave telling them, oh, we see rooks coming in, come help. And then that spider leaves. Oh, that spider that went for them was actually Falcon transformed into a spider, and then they both escape. Everyone escapes, but Falcon's kind of like on the edge of death, and then he tells Nezran last minutes that when he was younger, his brother had a daughter that he never met that might possess his powers, and he'd really like to meet her and like Nezran to find her. Holy shit. He is Lysandra's uncle. There's so many connections, and I just... yeah. I'm so glad she is gonna have somebody to relate to in the next book. Oh my god, how did I skip over this very important part? So, when they were in the cave and Nezran was in her little silk web thing and that spider is talking to her, she's like, hey, I like stories, tell me one last story before I die. She tells a story of how there were not only Valg kings, there were also Valg queens. And that queen's name was Maeve. What? What did you say? Queen Maeve is a Valg queen described as a fae her whole life. Do you know this changes everything? Because she's trapped by Aelin. She's a Valg queen. I already hated this bitch this whole series. You hate her. She's a Valg queen, and that's why she's so powerful, and oh, I just can't. Oh, another good part. I'm all over the place. When they were flying to the island before everything went to shit, Nezran asks Sarktak, so why did you never marry? And he tells her any girl that he met was uncomfortable around Kadara, his rook, or pretended to be. And I'm like, you know who isn't not comfortable in front of Kadara? Nezran. You're gonna marry Nezran. Our little final healing session between Irene and Kale. She's finally discovered the secret to healing him. She's discovered that Valgs are like parasites, and in order to defeat them, you must face the darkness, and so must Kale. He must face all his inner demons and guilt. And so she does one last healing session on him. From this point, we know he's regained powers in his toes and up to his knees, and that's why he could walk to her and kiss her. But she heals him and he can walk again. A little bit later, they go back to Torre Chesme looking for the healer of the High, but she has gone missing. Don't know where she is. So they go down to the library because Kale asks her, oh, is there any other ways out besides the front and the back? And Nezran's like, oh, the library has some tunnels underneath it. What is with Sarah J. Maas and these freaking libraries? Throne of Glass, we have the library in the Terrasen Castle that has those tunnels in them and had that creature in it. You know, Akamath, if you haven't read Akamath, Mutes. We went to that library, has that beast. What is with the libraries? Mutes. what is with the libraries? She makes libraries not a safe place to be. So they go down into the tunnels of the libraries. They go into this room with all this gold and treasure. And who has the healer of the high in prison? It's freaking Duva. Did you see that coming? Because I did not. I was just like, oh, she's the younger pregnant sister. So Duva is the one infested with a Valg, and she is the one who has been tormenting them all this whole time. She's the one who pushed Tumaloon to her death. She did it all. This whole battle goes down. It's not looking well. She shoots Kale with his power because he didn't want Irene to get in the way, and it just shatters his spine again. I was like, bitch, no. All this hard work throughout this whole book, and his spine is going to be shattered again. He's going to be paralyzed again. No. And then Irene is above her with a sword or knife or something, but she can't kill her. She can't. Killing is wrong, so she doesn't kill her. Who comes to the rescue? Who comes back? Sartak and Nezarin, they are there. She goes back to Kale. He's paralyzed again. Completely paralyzed again. She hears a voice that tells her, we may heal him, but the power is too much, too much extent. So if you want to heal him, there's going to be a price. It's always bad when there has to be a price. And so all the healers come together. They put their hands on the shoulders and heal him, and it does work. Again, very reminiscent to ACOTAR. Spoilers if you have not read ACOTAR, mute it a little bit here. When they were healing Reese and even Pharaoh, when they were bringing them back to life and they all had to put their powers into it, Sarah J. Maas just likes to use the very same techniques, which I'm fine with, but I'm always noticing these parallels. They're just always there. We learn that the price is that their lives are connected. So if she ever drains their power, aka if she heals someone like she heals Kale because she does get tired afterwards, he will lose that sensation in his legs again. The feeling to walk will slowly just go. They're connected like that, and their lives are tied together. If one dies, the other one dies. And I'm like, please do not have it happen in the next Stone of Glass book where he dies in battle and then she sees and then she dies. I will just lose it. Please don't happen. I cannot handle it. I cannot. So they bring Duva back to the palace, shows the Colin and his siblings like, look, you believe us now? You believe these Valg are here? They take the Valg out of her. Everything is good to go. Nezarin goes back to her family and shows them that she's a Reich, and Sartak joins her, and he says they love each other and they kiss, and it's great. And on the way back to the continent, Irene comes with Kale, and they're on the deck of the ship just holding hands. What does the description say of their hands? Their intertwined fingers with their matching rings. They're matching rings. What is with Sarah and these secret marriages? She always does this. Man, she just, every time. We never get to see them in the present time. People just get married and it just shocks you. And you're like, why again? Kind of disappointed that it happened that way, but still my feelings, I literally was like, like matching rings, his wife. As we were getting close to the last chapter, after that little surprise little wedding thing, we turn to the next page, and what is this? Do you see what this says? Fireheart. I shut my book, threw it away, and got up. Why is this chapter called Fireheart? Why? You remember, Aelin is called Fireheart, guys, if you don't remember or you don't know for some weird reason. There was a hope in me that they would show up at the end, but not like this. Not like this. And I'm starting reading, and I'm like, it's about Aelin. This chapter is about Aelin. It's from Aelin's perspective, and she's in that coffin thing. Maeve is looking over her like, let's begin, and that's where it ends. And then you turn the page again. The series continues in 2018. Bitch my ass. No. I honestly can't wait. I can't. I think that's all I have to say. I say this anytime I do any review, but I really feel like this review was not organized in any way. It was just me thinking of whatever thoughts in my head and screaming at you, because this book got me freaking excited. Alright guys, I think that concludes my review. I hope it wasn't too long. Oh, if you could tell, I love this book so much. I was so happy with Kale's character growth. I never stopped loving him, but he redeemed himself in this one. I love Irene. I love all the Colgan siblings except for Argon and Hazar. You guys can suck it. I'm really excited for everyone else to finally read this one so we can see some fan art, because I have a really hard time picturing Irene for some reason. And some of the Colgan siblings, I just can't picture them. So please get on that fan art if you are talented and can draw. This has been my review of Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. Please comment down below discussing. I love to discuss any theories, any comments. Do you ship this ship as much as I do? Comment down below. Talk to me, tweet me, message me. do whatever. Please comment. I love to get involved in the comments. Love it, love it, love it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I just reached 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. I never thought this day would come. 1K, like whoa. Thank you so much. My name is Ashley. This is Ashley Page, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Thank you. Can't even talk. Out of breath.